My name is Bond. James Bond. Over the years, there have been many people considered for the role of James Bond, but very few people were considered for it and then went on to decline the role. Today I'm here to talk about one such individual, a man who I think is most likely the greatest James Bond that we never had, and that is Mr. Cary Grant. Now, Grant was considered for the role by Bond producer Albert R. Broccoli, who was a close friend of Grant's. So much so that Grant was actually Broccoli's best man at his wedding. Or perhaps I should say Cubby, as he was known as. In the early 1960s, when the Bond series was rolling around their first film, Grant was the first person considered by producers to play the role of James Bond. This was due to the fact that Cary Grant had played the role of Roger Thornhill in Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest.
My name is Thornhill, Roger Thornhill.
Now, of course, the legend has grown over the years that Cary Grant was the first person that was asked to play James Bond. It seems more likely that he was thought of as the ideal choice, but that other factors actually prevented Grant from formally being offered the role for Dr. No. Now, anyone who has seen Cary Grant films know the man is suave, sophisticated. He is James Bond. I mean, he fitted it like a glove. So, with all of that being said, why did Cary Grant turn down the role? Well, the fact of the matter is that at that time in 1962, Cary Grant was 58 years old. He wasn't the young, up-and-coming go-getter that he was back in the 1930s and 40s. He was getting older, and he realised it. And due to his old age of 58, he only wanted his contract to include one film, and one film only, as he did feel he was getting too old for the role, and he was probably right. Now, the Bond producers weren't happy with this arrangement, and quite understandably. They were looking for an actor who would lead them for the foreseeable future. They didn't want by the time the next film rolled around for them to once again be looking for the next James Bond. Not to mention all the people that saw the previous film thinking, hold on, wasn't Cary Grant James Bond? And now, who's this guy? Is this part of the spy mission?
All right, if that's the way you feel about it. Good night.
Ultimately, things fell through, and the producers chose the young upcoming Sean Connery to lead their franchise. Now, this is history. This is the way it was, and we'd never want to change history, or at least I wouldn't, because quite frankly, for me, Sean Connery is the greatest James Bond we ever had. However, when it comes to the greatest James Bond that we never had, for me, it would have been Cary Grant.
I can hardly believe it.
That being said, I still find the what could have been quite fascinating, and if the what if machine from Futurama really existed, I would have certainly asked it what would Bond have been like had Cary Grant have started the franchise off, and was the first to don the famous Bond tux. Would Sean Connery or Roger Moore have ended up following him afterwards, or would the series have gone in a completely different direction? Perhaps one we can't even imagine. Had the James Bond films have been made in the 1940s, I actually think he would have been the perfect Bond. Now, I know what you're going to say, the books weren't even written in the 1940s, but I'm just talking hypothetically. Say they had been written, say Cary Grant was James Bond in the 1940s. I guess we'll never know, but it's certainly been fun speculating. Here's to the Bond we never got. The name's Grant. Cary Grant.